There is a specific breed of hotel guest who does not want to be served. They want to win. To this person, a hotel is not a place to relax. It is a system, a puzzle, an opponent to be outsmarted with a few clever tricks they read about online at 2 in the morning. And here is the beautiful part. Their hacks almost always work. The trick succeeds, exactly as designed. It's just that the bill, the consequence, or the sheer cosmic price of their own cleverness arrives a few hours later. And it is always, always bigger than whatever they saved. These are 9 real, documented hotel hacks, each one executed by a guest absolutely convinced they had beaten the system. Every single trick worked. And every single one cost them far more than it ever saved. Keep a running total in your head, because the final guest on this list managed to lose at all of them at once. 1. We begin with Diane, 55, who operated under a philosophy shared by a surprising number of adults, that anything inside a hotel room which is not physically bolted down is, spiritually, a gift. The plush towels, the waffle weave robe, the little slippers. To Diane, these were not amenities. They were severance. Over the years, she had quietly furnished an entire guest bathroom at home with stolen hotel linens, and she regarded this not as theft, but as a kind of advanced consumer strategy. Why buy towels, she reasoned, when the world's hotels are simply storing them for you? On her latest stay at an upscale property, Diane executed her routine flawlessly. 2 robes, 4 bath towels, and a decorative throw pillow she had grown attached to, all vanished into her oversized suitcase the morning of departure. She checked out with a serene smile, congratulating herself on a haul she privately valued at $300. What Diane did not know is that upscale hotels grew tired of people exactly like Diane some years ago. The robes and towels were threaded with tiny tracking tags. As her suitcase rolled past the lobby sensors, a quiet alert told the front desk precisely what was leaving the building. The charge was automatic and non-negotiable, billed at the hotel's replacement rate, which is to say, roughly 4 times what the items would cost in any store. Diane's $300 haul cost her over $500 in fees. When the charge appeared, she called to dispute it, arguing with genuine conviction that the towels had been a gift implied by the price of the room. The hotel disagreed. Diane now owns the most expensive bath towels in her entire neighborhood, and she earned them by trying to get them for free. 2. Marcus, 41, had done the math on hotel food, and the math made him furious. $18 for a club sandwich, $6 for a bottle of water. Marcus refused to participate in this robbery, so Marcus came prepared. Tucked into his luggage, wrapped lovingly in a sweater, was a small portable hot plate, his secret weapon against the tyranny of room service. His plan was elegant: cook his own meals in the room all week for the price of groceries and laugh in the face of the minibar. For 2 days, it worked. Marcus dined like a thrifty king on pasta and sautéed vegetables, feeling smarter than every guest paying restaurant prices around him. On the 3rd night, emboldened, he attempted something ambitious involving a great deal of oil and a thick cut of steak. The steak was magnificent. The smoke was not. Within 90 seconds, a gray cloud had filled the room, climbed to the ceiling sensor, and did exactly what that sensor was built to do. The fire alarm did not sound only in Marcus's room. It sounded in all 400 rooms of the hotel at 11 o'clock at night, triggering a full evacuation. Several hundred guests in various states of undress filed into the cold parking lot. The fire department arrived, lights flashing, to investigate a blaze that turned out to be one man's dinner. Marcus was not difficult to identify, mostly because the firefighters traced the smoke directly to his door. The bill arrived in layers: a false alarm fee charged by the city, a deep cleaning fee for the smoke damage to the room, and a fine for the prohibited appliance, which was confiscated on the spot. Marcus's week of clever grocery savings, perhaps $60, was erased many times over by a single steak. He maintained to the very end that the steak had been cooked perfectly. 3. Raymond, 62, believed checkout times were merely a suggestion, a soft opening bid in a negotiation that a clever man could simply decline to accept. Checkout was 11 a.m. His flight was not until evening. The hotel's official late checkout fee struck him as offensive, so Raymond devised a simpler approach. He would just stay. He would not answer the phone. He would not answer the door. He would lie low like a fugitive and quietly enjoy several extra hours of free luxury through the sheer power of not leaving. By noon, the front desk called. Raymond let it ring. By 1, housekeeping knocked. Raymond, holding his breath, did not respond, picturing the money he was saving with every silent minute. What Raymond failed to consider is that a hotel room is not abandoned territory to be homesteaded by whoever refuses to leave it. It is inventory, sold by the night, and the system does not recognize "I am being sneaky" as a rate plan. When he had still not vacated by mid-afternoon, the hotel did the only thing its software allowed. It charged him for a second full night, not a late checkout fee of $40. A second night at the full daily rate. Raymond's heroic refusal to pay a small fee cost him an entire additional day that he did not even spend there, since he left for the airport hours later anyway. He had successfully avoided the toll by driving straight off the cliff beside it. 4. Now, be honest with me for a moment. Have you ever stood at a free hotel breakfast and quietly calculated how much of it you could reasonably smuggle out in a napkin? If so, you share a spirit with Eleanor, 67, who treated the complimentary breakfast buffet not as a meal, but as a supply run. The breakfast was free. Lunch and dinner, in Eleanor's mind, did not have to be, not if she planned correctly. Each morning she descended on the buffet with a large tote bag and the focus of a quartermaster provisioning an army. Into the bag went hard-boiled eggs, yogurt cups, fistfuls of breakfast meats, pastries, fruit, and, on one memorable day, a quantity of sausage links wrapped in a hotel washcloth. Her plan was to live off these provisions all day and pay for nothing. Her plan had a single flaw, and that flaw was refrigeration, of which her room had none. By the second afternoon, the eggs and meats she had so carefully hoarded had spent long hours marinating in a warm tote bag in a warm room. Eleanor, frugal to her core, refused to waste her hard-won loot. She ate it. The night that followed was, by all accounts, the most dramatic of her trip. Eleanor required a visit from the in-house doctor, a service that was decidedly not complimentary, followed by a full replacement of the linens she had ruined, which was also not complimentary. The breakfast she had worked so hard to stockpile for free ended up costing her a doctor's call, a cleaning fee, and an entire day of her vacation spent horizontal and full of regret. She had, in fairness, paid nothing for the eggs. 5. Some people collect stamps. Leonard, 68, a retired accountant, collected loyalty points, and he pursued them with an intensity that bordered on the spiritual. To Leonard, a hotel stay was not a vacation. It was an opportunity to execute a strategy so complex that he kept it in a color-coded spreadsheet titled, simply, The System. The system involved stacking one particular credit card with one particular booking portal, layered over a promotional code, funneled through a third-party reward site, all timed to a points transfer bonus that expired at midnight. Executed perfectly, Leonard had calculated, the system would earn him enough points for an entirely free future night, effectively making this stay pay for the next one. Leonard was, in a narrow sense, a genius. The problem with stacking 5 financial maneuvers into a single transaction at 11:58 at night is that, to a bank's fraud detection software, it does not look like genius. It looks like a stolen credit card. The instant Leonard triggered the final step of the system, an automated security algorithm, far less impressed by his cleverness than he was, flagged the entire chain as suspicious. It froze the booking. It froze the rewards account he had spent 11 years building. And it froze the credit card he had checked in with, a fact he discovered at the worst possible moment when he tried to buy a coffee. Leonard spent the next several hours of his vacation not relaxing, but on the phone with 3 separate fraud departments, attempting to prove that he was merely cheap and not a criminal. He eventually recovered most of his points. He did not recover the afternoon. The free night he had so brilliantly engineered cost him an entire day, a considerable amount of dignity, and a coffee he had to pay for in cash. He has since started a second spreadsheet to optimize the first. 6. Greg, 38, took one look at the hotel's overnight parking rate and felt a flash of pure, righteous defiance. $50 a night to leave a car in a building? Absurd. Greg was not a sucker. On arrival, he had scouted the area and identified what he believed was a loophole. The quiet lot of a closed business just down the street, unmonitored, unloved, and gloriously free. Each night, Greg parked his car there and strolled back to the hotel, smug in the knowledge that he was beating a system designed to bleed him dry. For 2 nights, his little rebellion went perfectly. On the 3rd morning, Greg walked to the lot to find an empty space where his car used to be. The business was closed, but it was not unowned, and the owner had grown tired of strangers treating his property as a free hotel annex. The car had been towed. Retrieving it required a journey to an impound lot on the far edge of the city, a taxi to get there, a release fee, a storage fee, and a separate ticket the towing company had thoughtfully included. The total came to several $100s, many times the parking fee Greg had been so proud to avoid. Plus the better part of a vacation morning spent arguing with a man behind bulletproof glass. Greg had successfully eliminated a $50 charge by replacing it with a $400 one. 7. Sandra, 44, had read online that hotel thermostats are often secretly locked to stop guests from making their rooms too cold, and that a simple sequence of buttons could unlock a hidden engineering mode and grant total control. Sandra liked to sleep in temperatures normally associated with the preservation of meat. So Sandra performed the secret sequence, overrode the limits, and set her room to the absolute lowest setting the machine would allow. That night, she slept magnificently, buried in every blanket, convinced she had unlocked a luxury the hotel had cruelly been withholding. She had also, unknowingly, run a small air conditioning unit far beyond its design for 10 straight hours in a humid climate. Sandra awoke not in a crisp alpine wonderland, but in a swamp. Warm outside air had met the frigid surfaces all night long, and every object in the room was slick with condensation. The walls wept. The mirror was a waterfall. Her open suitcase had become a shallow pond. Her clothes were soaked through, and her laptop, left on the desk, had quietly drowned overnight and would not turn on again. The overworked unit itself had iced over and then failed entirely, which the maintenance team noted with interest when they were summoned to a room that was now both broken and underwater. Sandra was charged for the maintenance call and the damaged unit. Her ruined laptop, the most expensive casualty by far, was nobody's fault but her own. She had hacked her way to the perfect night's sleep and woken up several $1,000s poorer. 8. Our penultimate guest understood a modern truth, that hotels are terrified of bad reviews. His name was Trevor, 33, and Trevor intended to weaponize that fear. From the moment he arrived, Trevor was unsatisfied. The room was fine. The service was fine. None of that mattered because Trevor's dissatisfaction was strategic. He sat down with the manager and made his offer with the calm of a man holding every card. Give him a free upgrade to a suite, comp his entire stay, and throw in dinner. Or he would write a 1-star review so devastating, so detailed, so viral, that it would haunt the hotel's rating for years. Now I want you to understand exactly why this almost worked, and why it then spectacularly did not. A few years ago, Trevor's threat might have succeeded. But hotels have learned. The manager listened politely, agreed to nothing, and quietly did one thing Trevor never anticipated. He documented the entire exchange in writing, noting that a guest was demanding free services under threat of a review. When Trevor, true to his word, posted his scathing one-star masterpiece, the hotel did not panic. It calmly reported the review to the platform, attached its written record of the attempted extortion, and watched as the review was removed for violating the platform's own policies. Trevor's account was flagged. His future bookings across the entire chain were quietly blocked. He had traded a perfectly good stay at no real discount for a permanent ban and a deleted review that no one ever read. His leverage, it turned out, was the one thing the hotel was no longer afraid of. 9. Which brings us, at last, to our grand champion, a man who attempted not one hack, but nearly all of them in a single magnificent stay. His name was Howard, 59, and Howard had clearly done his research, because Howard arrived as a one-man anthology of everything you have just heard. He snuck an extra guest into a room booked for one to split the cost. He smuggled in a hot plate to avoid the restaurant. He stockpiled the free breakfast. He stole the robes. He cranked the thermostat to Arctic. And he had a point-stacking scheme running quietly in the background the entire time. Each hack on its own might have saved Howard a little money. Together, they formed a perfect storm of consequences that collided in real time. The cooking smoke set off the alarm, which brought staff rushing to a room that was both freezing and suspiciously overcrowded, where they discovered the missing robes and the contraband hot plate all at once. The extra guest fee, the false alarm fee, the cleaning fee, the appliance fine, the stolen linen charge, and the maintenance bill for the frozen unit all landed on a single, breathtaking invoice. And the point scheme he had been so proud of. It had flagged his card for fraud hours earlier, so when that final bill arrived, his primary payment method was already frozen. Howard had optimized his stay so aggressively that the total cost, every fee, fine, and damage combined, comfortably exceeded the price of the finest suite in the entire building, the one with the view and the complimentary everything, which he could simply have booked in comfort and enjoyed. He had played every angle. He had beaten every small charge, and he had lost the whole game. What connects all 9 of these masterminds isn't stupidity. Most of them were genuinely, impressively clever. It's that a hotel quietly tempts smart people into the one trap intelligence cannot escape. The absolute certainty that the rules, the fees, and the basic arithmetic of consequences simply do not apply to them. The system, it turns out, is rarely beaten by the people most convinced that they can beat it. So tell me honestly, in the comments, what is a hack you were completely certain was genius, right up until the bill arrived? Confess your cleverest disaster below. You are among friends here. And if you enjoy watching confident people do the math, beat the system, and somehow still lose, subscribe. It is the only loyalty program on earth that costs you nothing and never, ever ends up bigger than you expected.